As a leader, you're making promises to your team every single day, whether you actually say them out loud or not. But what if you could take all those unspoken intentions and turn them into a super powerful tool for building trust and clarity? Well, today, we're going to build the blueprint for exactly that. Seriously, think about this for a second. You intend to be a supportive, transparent leader. You believe you're creating a fantastic environment, but is that what your team is actually experiencing on the ground? That gap right there between your intention and their reality, that's the exact spot where trust is either built or broken. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll dive into why that link between your commitments and your team's trust is so incredibly vital. Then, I'll introduce you to the leadership blueprint itself, and we'll build it together piece by piece across three essential pillars. And finally, and this is key, we're going to run it through a litmus test to make sure it's actually ready for the real world. All right, let's start with the foundation, because closing that gap between what you mean to do and what your team perceives is precisely why this blueprint is such a game changer. I mean, look at this. This disconnect is so common. You as a leader have these totally valid, positive intentions, but without making them clear and explicit, those good intentions can get lost in translation. And that leaves your team members feeling uncertain, maybe a little disconnected. This is the exact problem we're here to solve. So what's the fix? Well, it's something called a leadership commitment blueprint. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful document that makes all your promises tangible. Think of the blueprint as your written promise. And listen, this is not a list of rules for your team. No, it's a declaration of what they can expect from you. It just completely removes all that ambiguity and sets these clear, balanced expectations about the support, the tools, and the feedback you're going to provide. And this really gets to the heart of it all. Commitment is absolutely a two-way street. When you explicitly state, in writing, what your team can count on you for, you're building this incredible foundation of trust. It shows you're invested, and that, in turn, is what really fuels their engagement and their commitment back to you. Okay, let's get practical. It's time to start building. The very first pillar of your blueprint is all about your team's growth and their professional development. This is the big question you have to answer for this section. And don't just think about it in some abstract way. I mean, what do you actually do? What are the specific actions you take to help your people grow their skills and move forward in their careers? So what does this actually look like on paper? Well, here are some really powerful examples. You could write, "We commit to giving you clear feedback so you always know where you stand." Or maybe, "We commit to having regular performance conversations that are focused on your career goals." Promises like these, they replace uncertainty with absolute clarity. They tell your team exactly what to expect. Okay, on to the second pillar of your blueprint. This one is all about fostering a real sense of community and connection. Because, let's be honest, a great job is about way more than just the work. It's about the people and that feeling of belonging. So the question here is, how do you actively build that kind of culture? What promises can you make that will ensure your team feels like a real team, a place where people feel seen, heard, and truly valued? For this pillar, your commitments might sound something like this. We commit to creating an inclusive environment where every single voice is heard. Or, we commit to celebrating our wins, both as a team and as individuals. And remember, promises like these aren't just nice, fluffy gestures. They are a structural part of building a positive culture where people feel like their contributions actually matter. And that brings us to our third and final pillar. This one is all about you, the leader, and the practical support you provide. What can your team expect from your leadership style? And what tools are you going to give them to succeed? So this is kind of a two-part question, right? It covers both your behavior, how you'll handle challenges, how you communicate, and also the tangible resources your team needs to get the job done, like training and equipment. What you're doing here is defining both the how and the what of your support. So, for example, committing to address issues directly and respectfully sets a really clear standard for how you'll handle conflict. Promising to be transparent about business goals and challenges builds incredible trust. And guaranteeing the necessary tools and training, well, that just removes a massive source of frustration for everyone. All right, you have drafted commitments for all three pillars. You've got this great document. But are you done? Not quite. Now we have to run it through one final, absolutely crucial test to make sure it's not just a piece of paper. And the test is simple, but it is unforgiving. First, read every single statement you wrote down. Can you honestly and realistically uphold it every single day? And second, have you gotten rid of all the vague, aspirational fluff? Those things that sound really nice but don't actually mean anything concrete? And make no mistake about it, the real power of this blueprint comes from its integrity. If there is even one single statement in there that you're not 100% willing to live by day in and day out, it weakens the whole document. This has to be about authentic, actionable promises, not some corporate wish list. So, once your blueprint is honest and clear and totally actionable, what does it really create? Well, it builds way more than just a document. It builds clarity, it builds accountability, and most importantly, it builds trust. The kind of deep trust that turns a group of individuals into a truly committed team. The only question left is, what will yours build?